Let me turn, if I could, our attention to Ukraine, because you are on the House Intelligence Committee, but you've been upset at the Speaker for not being included in some of the background sessions that have been taking place with Ukraine. What's the argument? Why have you not been part of those conversations?
Actually, I'm not. I'm certain that you're looking at the same thing. So I'm being the ranking member of Intelligence. I'm in all of the Gang of Eight briefings, and certainly on the Armed Services and the Intelligence Committee. I get all of the up-to-date briefings. Now, the president has, I think, now that he is engaged more fully in Ukraine and in making sure that they have the weapons, I think he's done a pretty good job of getting information to Congress. But the recent trip that the Speaker took to Ukraine, I thought that was, incredibly partisan and should have been a bipartisan trip. We certainly have bipartisan support. We just passed overwhelmingly bipartisan the new aid package for Ukraine. She went not taking one member of the Republican House. And when she was given an award, she said, "I accept this on behalf of the Democratic Caucus of Congress, not on behalf of America, not on behalf of Congress, but on the behalf of Democrats." It's hard to have a spirit of bipartisanship when you're only talking amongst yourselves and you only take one side. The precedent has been that when you do international travel, that you take a bipartisan group. I went with Kevin McCarthy as we went to the border of Ukraine, Romania, Poland, and NATO. Just about 2 weeks before the Speaker took her trip into Ukraine. It was a bipartisan group, and it makes a difference because you bring, on an international scale, you're standing there as a bipartisan group, and it has an impression upon them that truly America is with them when it's not just one political party speaking.
And we certainly saw that with the vote in the House yesterday, the $40 billion in assistance that passed with bipartisan support. But I want to go back to the specific issue of this Codell. It was a Democratic Codell, as you pointed out, and we're talking with Republican lawmaker, Congressman Mike Turner. Have you had any conversations with either the Speaker or Democrats about the fact that you, as a ranking member of the House Intel Committee, not included?
There's continuing conversations, even just yesterday. I was talking to another member of the Intelligence Committee who's a Democrat, about the prospects of us making a bipartisan statement and perhaps putting together, additional trips into Ukraine as Kiev has become more open and trips to support Zelensky and the symbolism of the American aid that's coming. I think it's certainly important for us to get on the ground there and show our support. So I think there will be additional opportunities for that, and certainly there are bipartisan discussions about trying to achieve that. It would make a big difference. I think it would go a long way in making up for the partisanship of that Speaker trip.
Can that be fixed, the polarization in this country? Because if all goes as expected, your party will regain control of the House and possibly the Senate. Will have divided government again. But as you have been illuminating today, and as we've been seeing over the last couple of years, the partisan differences have become very real and very raw.
So I have pretty much dedicated myself in my work in the Armed Services Committee and the Intelligence Committee on the issue of national security, which has bipartisan support and significance. If I'm fortunate enough to become the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, one thing I will do is turn this committee's focus back to national security and international security issues and threats and support for the Intelligence Committee. As you know, this committee was hijacked as it became the Impeachment Committee. Under prior precedent, impeachment largely would have been under the Judiciary Committee. The Speaker, for whatever reason, Nancy Pelosi, decided to put it in the Intelligence Committee, and that was a very, very partisan act. And it certainly was a distraction from the national security work that we do and that we need to be doing. My efforts will be to restore that, and I think restoring that focus will restore a bipartisan discussion and certainly, I think, support for the work of the committee.
And finally, Congressman, let me conclude where we began, which is your push to dismantle the DHS Disinformation Board. What happens next? Because clearly this is not going to happen with the Democrats in control of the House and the Senate.
That's not necessarily the case. I think there is bipartisan concern here of government doing this at any point. I mean, this is not just, once you take this step, it's not like you've just taken a Democrat step. You've taken a government step that can, I think, thwart really the preservation of our rights, the preservation of freedom of speech. I think both parties have a concern on that. What you have here is the administration making an announcement of the establishment of this board. It's an announcement of its focus, announcement of its head, without giving any details for Congress as to what the authority will be, what the work will be. And power of the purse, Congress is supposed to be approving the expenditures of federal funds, and we certainly haven't approved this. So I think that you will see an ability for Congress to block this and to significantly impact the administration's trying to insert government in what should be just general dialogue and debate of the country.
Congressman Mike Turner, Republican of Ohio, the ranking member on the House Intel Committee. Congressman, thank you for spending some time with us here on POTUS Midday.
Thank you. Appreciate your work. Take care.